And welcome to A Spirited Debate. I'm Lauren Green. Well, they could be just really beautiful cosmological events, or are they tied to biblical prophecy? Today is the first of 4 blood moon eclipses, rare occurrences that some biblical scholars say signal earth-shattering events, particularly when they happen around the Jewish high holy days. And today is the beginning of Passover. So what can this blood moon be telling us? Mark Biltz is a pastor and author of the book Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. And he joins me now from Seattle. Welcome, Pastor.
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me on.
So tell us exactly what blood moons are.
A blood moon simply is a total lunar eclipse as compared to a partial lunar eclipse.
And what does it look like in the sky? I'm assuming it looks red. That's why we call it a blood moon.
Right, exactly. The longer light rays are red that go around the atmosphere of the Earth and reflect on the moon when it's in the Earth's shadow.
And now you say that this is something that signals a biblical prophecy. Is that right? Am I getting that right? Or it just signals something large that's going to happen, significant that's going to happen?
Yes, I believe it's not necessarily going to happen on the day of the eclipse, but in the Bible. In Genesis 1:14, God created the sun and the moon, it says, for signals on basically Passover, on his feast days, his appointed times. So for me, if that's what the Bible says, that we need to be watching when those events happen.
Now, we've had these 4 blood moons, which is a tetrad, which is 4 occurring in a specific a period of time. This has happened before, right?
Over the last 2,000 years, there's been 62 tetrads, but only 8 times have they occurred on the biblical holidays. And in the last 3 of those, they've had great significance for the nation of Israel.
What has happened before, and when did those things happen?
Sure. The last time you had these 4 blood moons on Passover and Tabernacles within a year and a half was 1967 when Israel captured Jerusalem. And the time before that was right after they became a nation in 48. Right before that was in 1493 and 94 during the times of the Spanish Inquisition. So
now this is the first of the blood moons. When will the next one happen on the High Holy Day?
It'll be on the Feast of Tabernacles, I believe October 8th of this year, and then again on Passover next year, and then again on the Feast of Tabernacles in 2015. What's incredible about that one, that's like the grand finale that will be seen in Jerusalem on the Feast of Tabernacles when all the Jews are outside looking up at the sky, and it will be a supermoon. This is going to be a supermoon. The moon will be at perigee, or its closest point to Earth, for the entire year.
What could be the signal here? If this is a signal of something, what could God be telling us?
Well, I think over this next year and a half, how I kind of see these 4 blood moons in a row is going to be a signal from the book of Joel, where it talks about the moon turning to blood. It's in the context of God judging the nations that are trying to divide the land of Israel. So for me, I think this could be a heavenly warning sign to Israel not to divide their land, as well as to the nations, that God may judge those who are trying to divide their land, which is exactly what the big push is.
You know, one of the stories I saw online about the blood moons, the 4 blood moons, said, could it be the end of the world? Is this Judgment Day? Is this, the apocalypse and all of that? Is that what we're looking at here, or should we see something a little more earthbound?
A little more earthbound. I don't think it's the end of the world at all. I'm not into that mentality. I believe that we're going to be around for a long time. But I do believe what this is signaling is a couple of things. One of them, when you look at the pattern, and I like to stay with the science. I mean, I don't control an eclipse. I don't control the calendar, and I'm not the one who wrote the scriptures. I'm just connecting the dots and saying, based scientifically on past patterns, it meant a war with Israel in 48. It meant a war with Israel in 67. There's a probability that we could be looking at a war in Israel, as well as the economy crashing when you look at past statistics.
It's obvious that a lot of things are just normal occurring patterns. And if this happens, if something big happens, you can always say, oh, it's the 4 blood moons. Of course, we should have seen it coming. But there's so many tumultuous things happening in the world today. I mean, it could be nothing. I mean, it could just mean, well, there's 4 blood moons. And are we making too much out of it? Are we trying to connect the dots too much?
Well, all I'm trying to say is that God is the one who said he created the sun and the moon to send signals on his feast days. Now, I jokingly tell everyone that we are truly a non-profit ministry, and I'm not prophesying anything's going to happen. But at the same time, I think I see these as a warning or red lines that we should be careful and be watching. Not that anything's going to definitely happen, and I would hope nothing does. But I do think that we need to be watching what could be occurring, and not saying, like you said, that something that happens that is definitely a sign that that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you remember when the whole math of 2012 happened, and they thought the calendar was going to come to an end. The Aztec sign, that was the Aztec sign,
right? The Mayans.
The Mayans, right? The Mayan sign, and everybody was looking for some sort of sign, and every little thing that happens, oh, this must be, the 2012. I mean, isn't it possible that we're jumping to conclusions just like that, that nothing will happen that would not have happened if there hadn't been a blood moon?
A great question. The problem is the Mayan calendar isn't the one God was using. So people get all excited about the wrong calendar. The Islamic calendar is based totally on the moon. The calendar that the world uses is based totally on the sun. So they're all on the wrong calendars that God is using. God is using the biblical calendar, which is based on both the sun and the moon. And that's the one that I would be paying attention to. So that's the one I go by.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You talk about the calendars, and this is one of the rare years that the Orthodox Easter and the Western Christian denominations, their Easter are the same. Plus, Passover begins at the same time. All of these things are sort of converging at the same time. Do you see that as meaning something?
It very well might, but I think what's interesting, to give you an idea how the church in one sense is on the wrong calendar, and this was due to anti-Semitism a couple thousand years ago, in 2 years from now, Easter is a month before Passover. So here we're celebrating the resurrection a month before he even dies.
Very interesting. Well, the book is called Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. And Pastor Mark Biltz, thank you for being on A Spirited Debate. Very interesting stuff. I'm sure we are going to revisit this as we get more and more of these blood moons coming into fruition.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.